Well, the big, beautiful bill is taking effect, and with big law changes and big tax changes come a lot of big rumors. You've probably seen a lot of headlines about what's happening, what might not be happening. But before you assume Social Security is now tax free, or maybe you're getting a huge deduction now, we're going to set the record straight on what this new bill is actually going to do. Welcome into Perfect Game Retirement. I'm Ben George with Ryan Ledden over at Black Oak Asset Management. He is president there, also a certified financial planner, and we're breaking down the big, beautiful bill a little bit more, Ryan. We talked about some of the things that were most important for people to pay attention to, some of the things that might impact planning that you're doing with clients at Black Oak Asset Management. Today, we want to debunk some of the myths because I think we kind of touched on this a little bit last time. There's just so many headlines, and everybody wants to take an angle on any new legislation, especially with the administration we have right now, whether you like them or not. And we want to kind of clear that up because there's some misleading headlines.
There is, and again, like we mentioned last episode, yeah, we try to steer clear of the politics side, but it does bleed into what we do because a lot of policies involve and have to do with what we as advisors do on a daily basis, whether it is tax planning, and obviously in the CPA world, they're the ones that are having to change their softwares, their forms, and all all sorts of stuff. So I feel bad for them more so than us. But we've kept eyes on this thing to see when it was going to come out. Didn't really know it was going to be called the Big Beautiful Bill, and pass when it did. It's obviously been on the docket for a while, but finally it did pass through. So yeah, we're going to weed through some of the myths. Some of the headlines get a little bit confusing. Like, okay, is that true or is this true? And so there'll still be more things probably to come out, but you're right. There's a long list of changes that have happened, and we'll try to go through a few of those today on what is actually the truth of this new tax bill.
Yeah, and your best bet is to sit down with an advisor, certified financial planner, to actually talk through a lot of these changes and see what impacts you directly. Not everything will. There are many things that will impact your planning, but if you really want to make sure you're taking full advantage of the new tax code, you'll want to sit down with Black Oak Asset Management and discuss that. Now, one of the big headlines out there, one of the big myths that are out there is Social Security is no longer being taxed. You might have seen that headline. There's a little bit of truth to fewer taxes on Social Security, right? Or for people that are receiving Social Security. But what's the actual truth here on taxes and as it impacts your income and retirement?
Yeah, because when it comes to Social Security, there is a calculation on how they compute the taxes on it. So this extra potential deduction that you get for over the age of 65, if you have already claimed Social Security, again, remember, we're getting to the ages now where the full retirement age of Social Security is 67. 67 is the age where you don't pay or have any reduction in benefit or things like that. So, but having the extra $6,000 per person or $12,000 married filing jointly, that can help ease the burden of maybe being taxed on your Social Security, but it's not an exact, doesn't mean that Social Security is no longer taxed. That was some of the first headlines that I read on the articles that I could find said Social Security is not going to be taxed. And I'm like, oh, cool. But then I started reading it. I'm like, okay, that's not exactly it. So it's kind of an indirect thing potentially, but not directly saying Social Security is not going to be taxed.
Yeah, it's like it'll help offset some of that, but it's not directly, hey, your Social Security income not being taxed. So to clear up that a little bit, there is a better situation for many retirees there, but again, not completely the truth. Myth number 2, I think you might have heard, or somebody might have told you, hey, the new law means tax cuts for everybody. So there are some additions to the new tax code, but not everybody's getting tax cuts, are they?
No, that's not true. I mean, if you look at the marginal tax brackets, what it was going to go to, I guess you could say most, if not all, people would have probably some sort of a tax increase for next year if nothing was done, because it goes back to previous levels that we had before 2017. But we knew something was probably going to happen, not just let it just go away and then boom, the new tax code reset itself. But so yeah, there are some things that benefit people, like we just mentioned, the extra deduction on top of the standard deduction for those who are over age of 65. Well, again, if your taxable income is too high of $150,000, it starts to phase out and then go away. So it's not just, hey, just because you're 65, we're going to throw you an extra $6,000 deduction. It just doesn't work that way. There are income thresholds when it comes to that. And salt, we mentioned that on the previous episode. It's that could help some people, but that one's going to mainly help higher income earners because of property values, and so that's probably going to help more higher income earners and not really help the low income earners, or even state taxes that are really, really low, if not zero. So that's not going to help. So yeah, it's not a blanket. It's not a blanket tax code that's going to reduce taxes for everyone.
All right, myth 3 here. I think this one can be confusing to anybody, but you've probably seen that tax brackets are permanent now, so you don't need to really worry about any changes. But permanent is not what it means. In Washington, it doesn't mean the same thing as it means everywhere else, does it?
No, not at all. I mean, it's only permanent until the next regime changes it. So it's just that easy. But it's technically, because when they did the tax cut in 2017, there was an end date. It did say, hey, after 2025, these tax codes are going to sunset and they'll revert back to 2016 levels. Well, that's not the case. This is what the permanent means. It's permanent until it's changed. So yeah, in Washington, the definition of permanent is very different than everywhere else in the real world, I guess. But it's permanent until something is done or something is changed. So obviously, we know for the next 3.5 years, they're going to be what they are until potentially a new president and new Congress comes in, and we'll see what happens then.
Yeah, you got to put quotes around permanent when you talk about it in terms of Washington, D.C., but that's our third myth. Myth number 4, the 15 million estate tax exemption means that estate planning doesn't really matter too much anymore, Ryan. But again, not completely the truth. There's still so much value, and there's still a lot of things you need to do within your estate beyond just this exemption.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, there's so much more to than the estate tax exemption. Yeah, not so that's 15 million per person. So a married couple can technically give away to their beneficiaries $30 million and not be subject to federal estate tax. Now, states have their own tax laws, and obviously, we're not going to get into each state tax law when it comes to estate taxes. But so, yeah, from a taxation standpoint, there's not a ton of people out there that have more than $30 million. Believe me, there are some, there are plenty that do, but there's so much more to that when it comes to a good estate plan, like what kind of trust you have set up, what revocable, irrevocable trust you have set up. These things don't pass through probate. How can you avoid probate as much as possible? So there's so much more to it than federal estate tax is a big deal, no doubt, because they take a big chunk above that threshold. But again, think about things that you can be doing while you're alive to make things easier on those beneficiaries when you're left behind. So the estate tax, the federal estate tax, is just one component of it.
All right, the fifth myth, and this is one that kind of grabbed my attention when I saw it. You've probably seen that car loan interest is now deductible, and I think that's great news for a lot of people that have a loan on their car. But again, you got to get into the details a little more. It's not going to cover a ton of people.
No, it's not, and there's certain time frames on it. It depends on where the car is made. So there's always going to be caveats. It's not just like, oh, sweet, I bought a car 3 years ago and I can deduct. There's time parameters on when you purchase this vehicle and where this vehicle was made, and so just check the fine print there. So it's not just going to be automatic deductions when it comes to that. Which again, with interest rates being so high, that's great for those of you that can take advantage of it, but it's not for everybody.
All right, one last myth we want to get into here today. And again, there's a lot that's in this bill, so you want to reach out to Ryan if you have further questions or really want to dive into how it impacts you specifically. But the last one is there is this above the line deduction for giving to charity. So I know a lot of people may be thinking, okay, well, I can still skip itemizing and still be able to get a big deduction from giving to charity. But there's still not a huge jump there beyond that standard deduction, right?
Yeah, there's not a big difference, and you'll hear the term above the line, below the line deductions. There are some that are considered above the line. You see that on your first page of your tax form, but the changes now are $1,000 per person for charitable giving and $2,000 for a married couple. And that's for people who they don't itemize. As again, that's above the line. Then itemizing is kind of below the line, if you will. But so it's not a huge increase. There is some benefit, but I don't think it's a game changer type thing to change the tax code for your personal planning. But it is something. But it's not something that it's just this huge deduction. It's okay, $2,000 for married filing jointly, but again, how much does that actually move the needle? Probably not a ton.
One of like big legislation like this always creates a lot of confusion for people. I mean, it's not simple, right? It never is simple. And there's a lot that goes into this. So this is where financial planning can really make a difference, right? And having a certified financial planner on your side, a team like you have at Black Oak Asset Management, you can really help your clients through this legislation like this, because we know it's going to come, maybe not something big like this for the next few years until the new administration, but there's always changes constantly within Washington or within your life where planning can help clear out a lot of that confusion.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, even like I've taken my personal tax return and uploaded into our tax planning software just to see the difference. And there is a little bit of difference. There is. So that's beneficial. It's just we don't know, again, we don't know what those income thresholds in each of the marginal tax brackets. But you can go ahead and start planning and kind of know what that looks like for the next few years. And maybe there's some opportunities for Roth conversions. If you are saving some more money on tax, then maybe that's an opportunity to do some more Roth conversions and still kind of be almost in a break even from a tax standpoint from the previous year. So yeah, the technology and the software that we have now allows us to way forward think now that we know what the tax bill is and is going to be. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out for sure.
All right, go to speakwithryan.com to get in touch. Again, he offers you the opportunity to sit down and just have an initial conversation, begin talking about some of the things that you're concerned about, maybe some worries or goals that you have, just get a better idea of your full financial picture, and then can move forward from there. But again, can be found at speakwithryan.com. All right, appreciate you watching. Hopefully this clears up a little of the misconceptions that are out there, some of the myths that are out there on the big, beautiful bill. But again, reach out if you have any further questions. And thank you for being a part of Perfect Game Retirement.